Welcome to the Foxhole. I'm Nandor Fox Shaffer, and this is the Art of Writing Comics, a series where we look at what I think are the best written comics from the past and present. For creators, this is a place where I hope they can find some insights on how to be a better comic book writer, a better creator, especially if you're in the indie comic scene. For fans, this is a place where we talk about our favorite stories and what we love about comics. In today's episode, this is episode 4, we're going to be looking at Fantastic Four issues 527 through 532, written by J. Michael Straczynski, art by Mike McKone. This is one of my favorite Fantastic Four story arcs, so let's take a look and let's see what we can find. A part of the joy of being a comic book collector and going to comic book stores and reading comics is finding them. I mean, I love hearing stories of people who find their favorite runs or like they feel like they found a diamond in the rough, or they had been searching for this issue and they finally found it somewhere, or they just get a really good deal on a story they didn't think would be that great, or had no idea about. Then they sit down and they're like, "Whoa, I just found something really special, and it was only a few dollars." That's what this is right here. This collection of the first 6 issues of J. Michael Straczynski's Fantastic Four run that he did. I found this at Hastings when they were still in business, a handful of years ago, probably 5 to 7 years ago, for like $3. And every Black Friday, they'd have a Black Friday sale where you could buy one and get one free in all of the used graphic novels that they had. I missed that sale. It's where I found a lot of great stories and got to read a lot of stuff I never would have read otherwise. It was like going to the library and just checking out as many books as you could, except I could keep them. And that's what I found with this story here. I really enjoyed it. I really love it, and it's there's some just great character moments. And when you find a superhero story that takes on well-beloved characters and characters that we all know, and taking classic characters and trying to update them, or just try to tell new stories, or use fresh ideas, and when you're taking characters that so much has been done with and you get back to the heart of who they are or what they are, it's exciting. And that's something that this graphic novel does, where the story does. And you can probably find it mostly anywhere. I see it in a lot of stores around my area, and especially like used graphic novel shops, or you probably find it discounted, get off eBay really cheap, I bet. But this is just a really good find, and for $3, and getting what I got out of it, I was so surprised and impressed. And I think about it every now and then when I think about good comic book writing, and if I were to write a Fantastic Four story, this is something I'd look at, of course. So I just love that. So do you guys have any good finds, any stories where you feel like you got a deal? Definitely comment below and let me know. I love hearing about those types of stories. But yeah, so this is something that, again, the characterizations are just right on, I feel, and it does a great job at, especially this arc, focusing on Reed and Ben, partly Sue and partly Johnny, but really maybe the two mainly interesting characters of the 4. And of course, this isn't the end. It's the beginning of JMS's run. He did a few more issues that were Civil War tie-ins, and then quickly left the book and went on to Thor, I believe, which is another freaking great run. But so let's get into this and let's look at some of my favorite scenes. I'll explain a little bit as we go through. This is 6 issues, so I really don't want it to be a really long video where we go through every single detail, but just kind of the scenes I really enjoyed and what I like about the story and what I think that we can take from it and be better writers and things we can learn from it. So let's take a look and let's dive in. And J. Michael Straczynski, he's done a lot of great stuff. So I mentioned his Thor run. He also did Superman Earth 1, that graphic novel series. That was 3 volumes. Rising Stars, Midnight Nation. He wrote the Academy Award-winning screenplay, I believe, for Changeling. He did the Netflix series Sense8. He's done a lot of stuff. Babylon 5. He was the creator of that. He also, when it comes to comics, did a little bit of Wonder Woman. His amazing Spider-Man run is really amazing, that 9/11 issue, and a lot of other great stories that he had done with Spider-Man. A lot of people give him flack for One More Day, which I would love to take a look at. But yeah, so he's an accomplished writer. We would all love to be J. Michael Straczynski when it comes to how accomplished he is. So his run began with issue 527. Here we have the beginning opening page. This issue is called Distant Music. And I'm going to really focus on these first 7 pages because they're brilliantly written. And I think it's important when you're writing comics to have characters sound like they're supposed to, or what you think they're supposed to sound like, and also the inner monologue or dialogue of a character is something that you can really only do well in comics or consistently well, and that's something that J. Michael Straczynski just knocks out of the park. So let's begin. I've watched this world for nearly 5 years. The end is always the same. Centuries of blood and struggle flash before my eyes in a matter of moments. The compression is the result of an error in calibrating the viewing system to compensate for the effects of time dilation. You're thinking, okay, this has got to be Mr. Fantastic. It would be a simple matter to correct the error. I choose not to. It takes 6 months here for several million years to pass there. Then the sudden, dizzying, upward climb. The flowering of intellect, of art, culture, science, and philosophy. The first written stories of bravery and heroism and gods and struggle. And music. My God, the music. Always different. Sounds no ear has ever heard before. Beautiful, sad, profound, fragile. It usually lasts until shortly after my morning coffee. And then, there's always an end then, isn't there? The worst is usually over by lunch. The technology of murder takes too long, you see. It's too inefficient. The killing wears you out after a while. So peace comes at last. And then, they improve the technology. And then, there are no more and-thens. The darkness falls there as the shadows lengthen here. And always there is one left, because the math dictates there must always be one who is last, who looks out over the ruined landscape and knows, deep within his heart, that he is the last. And always the same question. Why? I do not think he is asking why he is dying. I think he is asking why he had ever lived. And then in 6 months, so many tens of millions of years from now, it begins again. And they will be brown or silver instead of golden, We'll have wings where those long forgotten walked. We'll emerge from the long bloody centuries to discover art and science and music. Such music. And then, read? Like, I get chills. Like, this is so well written. Man. Like, you get so much in these first couple pages, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful. And, man. Yeah. So, Sue Storm walks in. Reed Richards has been taking a look at the life and death of this world, this universe. So he gets interrupted. You've been at this all day. It's time for dinner. Right on schedule. What is? Nothing. We're having beans and franks again. But I went ahead and asked Mr. Onohoff to join us anyway. This accountant who's going to be at breakfast. And they just keep talking. She asks him, seriously though, Reed, are you okay? All day you've seemed kind of depressed, lost. I'm all right. Some days I have more questions than I have answers. And for somebody who has as many answers as I have, that's not good. If you're not up to this, I can send him away, talking about the accountant. Tell him to come back when you're... No, it's okay, really. Just stay with me for a minute before we go downstairs, all right? Just a minute so that I can hold you for 100 years. And he asks himself, why? And we get a transition. Because I asked you, that's why. And that's Ben Grimm from this here. But, so a couple things just real quick. We can see that what Reed is seeing and looking at and experiencing is affecting him in his home life and his family life. And this is the first 7 pages, and like, bravo. Like, holy crap, if I could write 7 consistent great pages like this, especially using the Fantastic Four, I mean, it's just amazing. And I love this scene here where he tells Sue, just a minute so that I can hold you for 100 years, because it goes back to what he's been watching and how he's watching the death and life of a world in the matter of minutes. And he's watching centuries and centuries in the matter of minutes. And it just goes to show that, like, it's talking about those sweet moments that you share, how long they feel like they last. And this idea of time and life, I love that. Absolutely love that. And he's asking himself that same question that he saw that poor soul on that world ask, why? And then I love it when transition lettering boxes and dialogue, they coincide with what's being said on this page and where we're going. That's a trick that comics can do, and something that I think as writers we can always get better at, and thinking about how we can go from one scene to the next scene, and transitional dialogue and boxes like that, I think, really help, and you don't lose anything when you go to the next page. You're ready to keep the conversation going. And so Ben and Johnny, Ben is eating trying to see how many hot dogs he can eat, and this accountant is talking about their funds. We learn that Ben has a lot of money that he didn't know he had, and Reed says, he's telling him, like, I told you we like did all this account stuff and everything. And Reed's like, Ben's like, why didn't you tell me? He's like, well, I've been a little distracted, Ben. And we see all the villains here, and I really like that. I like how without explaining what Reed's been up to visually, we're just showing all of it, and that's all we need to know. I mean, that's so clever, so well done. I really like this, and I think that the visuals can catch the reader up and tell you everything you need to know. No use in trying to explain everything if you can do it through the art. So Ben has a ton of money. He's so excited, but he has to go to the bathroom because he ate too many hot dogs. And the humor in this book is really great. And like I said, Ben's character arc in this story, The Thing, his character arc, referring to him as Ben, and Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic, they both go through some really great moments and some development here that it's really strong and profound. And I really like what JMS does with these two characters in particular. Reed is tasked by Nick Fury to check out this project. This is a really great humorous scene, something that we'll have a payoff for. Nick Fury is going to the copying room. Ben Grimm is sitting on the copy machine and with his pants off, and he's making a copy. And Nick Fury looks at the copy machine like, I'm not going to use this one. And he goes to a different place, to get his copies or whatever. But I think that's just great. If you see Nick Fury's expression right here, he's just like, okay. And this is a really tender moment between Mr. Fantastic and Invisible Woman. He's playing the music, I believe, from that Dead World, and she says it's beautiful. I've never heard anything like it. Where did you find it? And he says, someplace very far away. Can you get any more of this? No, I'm afraid not. You see, they were only open for a day. They're gone now, all gone. So this is really bothering him. And he's kind of, in a way, torturing himself with how curious he is and how much he wants to know and learn. That's something that's always been a vice for Mr. Fantastic, and how that virtue, that idea of him wanting to know everything can really get in the way of him experiencing life and what's important. So here, this is Bill Gates. Sends him from the Baxter building. It says, "Hey Bill, there's a new dog in town. Sincerely yours, the other BG, Ben Grimm." And Bill Gates look at, and we can tell what it is, and he's like, "I don't get it. Why would the Fantastic Four send me a satellite photo of the Grand Canyon?" Oh, it's so good. This is perfect. I love it. Yeah. So here, we're following Reed, and basically what this whole storyline is, Reed is being the same cosmic rays that gave the Fantastic Four their abilities. That same precise combination is they're tracking it, and it's going to be hitting in the vicinity of the Earth once more. So they're wanting him to help them with this project to create more superhumans, or people, with abilities. So they need his expertise with the ship and with figuring out everything, that they make sure that they're going to the expert for this project. And that's when he tells them, preparation for the birth of the Fantastic 5 or 10 or 30. Congratulations, Reed. You're about to change the face of the known world for a second time. So there we're getting back to the core of these characters and what made them who they are. I always like that, especially when you're starting a run and kind of getting back to the origin. This could be someone's first Fantastic Four comic, and this would be a great jumping on point. And what do you guys think about that? I mean, it's really interesting when a new writer takes on, years and years of history and trying to keep it where a new reader can read it, even though this is issue 527. How would someone know this is a great jumping on point? I think that's kind of the responsibility of fans to kind of help other potential fans out with finding great jumping on points. And I just love these characters. I'll read anything, so that's just kind of where my head's at. But I think that anytime you find a new writer doing a new story, for someone who's watching this and you're like, man, I just don't know where to begin, look to see when a new writer starts. You should be good. Like, unless they're not really, they're kind of salvaging maybe a run that's not going so well. Usually when a new writer takes over, you can start with that writer and go from there. That's why a lot of when a lot of reboots will start with new writers and all of that. So yeah, Ben is just having a heyday with all his funds. He's trying to look all pimped out and stuff. So yeah, we're seeing this, and Reed and Sue are talking on the phone. And let's see, Reed is saying, how much this feels like he's facing his past. It's exactly the same. I feel as if I'm walking into the past, my past. So he's really kind of confronted with his origins and the Fantastic Four's origins. This little plot line that's introduced in this graphic novel, I believe, is taken more seriously further with the issues that come after what's in this collection and the Civil War tie-ins. But really, and this is, I think, a good subplot, is looks like the government or social services child welfare division is coming in and surveying to see if this is a safe environment for Reed and Sue's kids. And I think that's pretty realistic, and that's something that JMS does. He really likes to look at characters from a human perspective, and I really like that too in stories and with the comics with these characters. I mean, I love seeing who they are behind the mask, and I think, of course, they would wonder, is this a safe environment for young kids? For your kids, you guys are battling all these supervillains. So I think it's a smart angle, and I like that. This is Franklin saying, like, he's being asked a question. He's like, saying all the stuff they've been through, and she just can't believe it. This lady, she's like, and then Sue's like, kids, they just say the darndest things. But so Reed's still working on this project. This is actually a scene we'll get back to, but he's talking to this lady he's working with. Her name's Deborah, and she's talking about being away from his family. Ben and Johnny are out on the town. Ben has this like diamond necklace on. He's really, you can tell he's trying to fill a hole here. Ben's never fit in the thing. He's always had that complex of, I don't want to be this monster. I don't want to look like this. If I could just be human again. And he thinks that money can fill that hole. And so he's going through this process of living it up and, doing all he can with his money. These two girls notice him. He goes into the bathroom here and he's looking at his reflection. This is just such a great scene. He's like, I know what you're thinking. His human self he's looking at. You're thinking, if I wasn't wearing enough ice to stun a police dog, that woman wouldn't have said boo to us. If anything, she would have run the other way, right? Right. Of course, right. I mean, who knows us better than us, right? So here's a question. What difference does it make? The difference is I love Alicia. Of course we do. Never said otherwise, pal. But hers, we're hers and she's ours. But even so, when a beautiful woman looks at you and smiles, it makes you stand a little straighter. makes you feel a little taller in your shoes. Is there anything wrong in the world? Is there anything in the world wrong with that? With feeling attractive? Maybe, depends. I know, you're worried about looking like this. So he's just having this inner battle. And, the person he wants to be versus the person he is. And, he wants to be human again. And he's never been looked at like that in so long. So, it's just really good character moments here. So Sue's dealing with this child welfare services, and we cut. Here's another transition narration for Reed going into his next scene. It's funny how sometimes you never see the irony in something until it's shoved right in your face. And he says, I've always been aware of the differences between our powers after we were hit by the cosmic rays and how they echoed our personalities, but I never dropped anchor too deeply into that line of thought. But the parallels are obvious. I love the imagery JMS uses with narration like this. I mean, he didn't have to be so imaginative and clever, but that's better writing and makes you stand out. And I love the analogies that he uses, and using words to evoke images in your head of what's going on, I think is a really strong writing technique, and something that we can all always get better at. So it's cool because he's talking about how Johnny's a hothead, Sue's kind of more ignored by her parents, being invisible. Ben, he's macho, gentle human soul. See his true face. Like how it is interesting how he talks about him. He's like a man stretched thin by work, going from grant to grant, project to project, between the rigors of science and the love he thought he'd never have time for, always being pulled between his heart and his head, stretched so thin he thought sooner or later he'd snap. That sound about right? Yeah, it does. It's it's so cool. I mean, because what's happening is this story is confronting what we as readers all know, and how these powers reflect their personality. And so it's taking that idea head on, and I think it's just so cool, and it's getting to the heart of these characters and who they are. And I love the Fantastic Four, and I love seeing this, and I just love that. JMS is really easy to read too. You read him and it just flows. It's not choppy or anything. He says, there are dozens of possible reasons why all this happened as it did, but only one that makes sense. A possibility so startling, so devastating and groundbreaking that I can barely bring myself to put it into words. It's nothing to do with destinies or desires, nothing supernatural about it. It's a random factor that no one could have anticipated because it is almost beyond belief. The question now becomes, what do I do about it? So he's really contemplating, why they have these powers, and why the powers themselves, reflect their personalities. Here we have I believe the fuel core. This alarm goes off, explodes. Mr. Fantastic shields the explosion, which I think is a really cool use of his abilities here. She thinks that, it's Deborah, thinks that Mr. Fantastic was behind the sabotage. And there's a reason for that, and we'll see if that's true or not. So going into this issue, he was the one who sabotaged what's happening, with the ship, and doesn't want them to recreate, this whole project, and so he calls the Fantastic Car. This is a really funny scene where Sue is brushing her teeth, and she hears this and reads like, I hope I don't wake the kids. And she says, some people just call a cab when they want to come home. But of course, Reed is, you can't do that. And we got to see the Fantastic Car. So they find out that Reed's kind of behind the sabotage. And I don't necessarily remember exactly why he's trying to sabotage them. But of course he has his reasons, and they make sense within the book. It's been a long time since I've read this. So he keeps running. He grabs upward, and there he is, swept away by the Fantastic Car. He gets home. He's explaining, for years, space agencies around the world have been sending probes and signals into space, looking for an answer from another civilization. The process requires someone to receive the signal, decode it, and respond appropriately. Otherwise, there can't be communication. The way the cosmic rays affected all of us in ways that reflect our personalities implies direction, and direction implies intelligence. All of which leads me to believe that the cosmic rays may have been an attempt to communicate with us, a signal which until now has gone unrecognized. If I'm right, we have to respond, and we have to do it quickly because we may have some guests soon, and because that exact combination of cosmic rays is being detected again. That's important with where the story is going. So it's a really interesting idea, and it's really cool where they take it. So they're going to go up into the cosmic rays, which is pretty sweet. And they get in their ship. They fly off. And they're about to get hit by the cosmic rays. So we see this here. The ship gets hit, and they have to protect their landing. There's just one little hint at these eyes here of this alien creature that we'll see. Really great sequence here. Great art by Mike McCone. He has a really clean style that I really enjoy. And we see this guy here, this alien entity. And he's only communicating through Ben. And we'll see why that is too. Sequence here with the soldiers. This is really shocking here. Alien entity is taking out these soldiers here. He's not killing them though. We'll find out. And Reed's totally shocked. Doesn't want anyone to die. They're actually being transported somewhere far away. He's speaking through Ben. Because he understands what it's like to be alone and to feel like an outsider. He starts speaking to the whole Fantastic Four group here. And this entity was actually someone like Reed, who was very curious about the universe and the why of everything. And he learned some things that challenged what his civilization believed, and just went too far with his computations and his experiments and so forth, and was turned into this entity, was really merged with touching the mind of the universe, it says. And the same people who disagreed with his findings are coming back for him. So we have this alien invasion that is about to take place. And so they have to fight off these ships and these aliens. And going into the negative zone. Reed is taking the entity there. And he's really explaining. Him and Reed are really connecting on an intellectual and philosophical level. And Reed wants to know. He tells him, "I want to understand everything." And while they're having their huge fight outside the Baxter building, Reed and this entity are going through some really cosmic stuff. He thinks, did I just die? And the entity wants to understand himself, and really he's on the same path that Reed was. So this kind of this whole existential crisis that Reed is going through, the same entity was going through, and they're going back to the beginning, the Big Bang. That's a really cool 2-page spread right here. So this is the final issue, and so he's going through this big void. Oh, I love this layout here. This is the entity's face, and we see Reed being swirling in the middle of this. He's asking, why are we here? Who are we? Why are we? And now that question has sparked the engines of creation. So just really great writing, and really great. The tone is perfect for a Fantastic Four comic. And I love the cosmic stuff that's being shown here, the art, the space, and the stars, and the debris, and the asteroids, and all of that. The nebulas. This is a really cool page. It's all, very overwhelming to read, and his ability to comprehend what he's seeing. And I love this here. This is so great. Centuries flash before his eyes. Sees the beginning of Earth. And this is really kind of the heart of the story we get to, where Reed was actually that intelligent being that originated why the Fantastic Four got their cosmic rays. And, you can kind of take that or leave it. I think it's a really cool story, and it's so well written that, it doesn't ruin anything, I don't think. And it just puts one other layer on top of it just being like, this accident that happens for these characters. And I think that overall, it makes a better story. And I think it's pretty neat. So he actually, we find here at the end of the sequence, goes back to the moment where kind of change all of what's occurred here. So he goes back in time and to this conversation he was having with Deborah, and we find that he directed the cosmic rays that they were going, the second batch that they were going to interfere with, he misdirected them, and they're like, they don't know he did this, of course, but so the project is then canceled, and Reed wants to go home, doesn't want to be here anymore. Really sees the importance of family over work. And then we get to the conclusion of the story, and he says, I've watched this world for nearly 5 years. So all the way back to the beginning. And this is what makes this such a great, complete story arc and a graphic novel collection. The end is always the same. And he really kind of goes through centuries of blood and struggle. It would be a simple matter to correct the error. And I choose to correct the mistake, so that a minute here is a minute there. Because the accelerated version only gives you history. It does not give you the moments. Histories and wars are written in books. Moments are written in the language of the heart. And when you skim the pages, you miss the important parts, the only parts that really matter. I remember a little of what happened, though the details are growing more distant with each passing second. Some things, it seems, are too big for the human mind to retain for very long, but I remember the moments, I remember the important things, and that's all that matters, the moments. And that's really the heart of this storyline and this arc, and it's amazing. Reed and Sue comment on Ben and his new wardrobe that he got, and she says, "I'm just glad to see him happy for a change. He deserves to be happy, don't you think, Reed?" He's like, "I do, Sue. I do indeed." We see Ben right here at the bottom looking in the mirror. And this last page just caught me really hard. Reed says, "If anybody in the world deserves to be happy, Ben does." And he's crying. The Thing is crying. And yeah, it's emotional and it's heartbreaking. And it just shows, Ben's trying to fill this hole inside him, but he really just wants to be human. And like I said, there's just really great character moments, and I love that final page. That always sticks with me with The Thing. And I love what Reed goes through in this story. And if you can find this anywhere, I recommend you picking it up. So thanks for watching this. Sorry, this was a little longer than my other videos, but I really wanted to get into this story, and I really wanted to take a look at this collection, and I really loved it, and I really enjoyed this, and hope you guys did too. Please subscribe. Tell me about your favorite Fantastic Four stories. Are there any stories you want me to look at that are incredibly well written? I'd love to do that. Let me know if you've read this. Please, subscribe, like this video, comment, hit the notification bell, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching The Art of Writing Comics. This was episode 4.